It's time for Sports Dogs After Hours, an hour of live local sports talk, recognized by the Associated Press as the best sports feature of the Virginias. Brought to you by Parsons Kia, 2525 Valley Avenue, Winchester. Nobody beats a Parsons deal. Nobody. Now, Sports Dogs After Hours on the River 95.3.
All right, fellas, I think that might be our cue. And for anybody that's listening, no, Randy hasn't gotten a cold or gotten sick or taken ill. This is Janet Michael. I am filling in tonight for Randy Woodward, hosting Sports Dogs After Hours. So I'm excited to spend the next hour with you guys talking sports. And I've got some amazing guests with me tonight. So I've got Nathan Stalvey. He is in the studio with me. He's the executive director of the Clarke County Historical Association. And I put in quotes, Nathan, underneath of your name, Dodgers fan.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, and we're going to have to get a picture before we're done because it's, we got to show people that you are, in full Dodger paraphernalia.
Absolutely.
Also in the studio with me tonight is Coach Mike Smith. He is the baseball coach for Clarke County High School and recently named the 2019 manager of the Winchester Royals.
Yes, ma'am. I'm excited.
I'm excited about that, too. And then a complete and total surprise. This is the power of social media. All you have to do is put something on your Facebook page and tell your friends to text your husband and beg him to come do a radio show with his wife. And he appears. So my husband, Tim Michael, is here with us tonight as well.
Yes, thank you.
And for the record, he's the Braves fan. So I had to put Coach Smith between Nathan and Tim because the Dodgers are playing the Braves tonight, and they both gave me grief for having them be sitting here in the studio.
I'm sorry your Braves are going to lose.
Okay, we're not starting that. We're not. Yeah.
Chop on.
So Randy gave me kind of a run through of how he normally does the show. And normally what he does in the first segment is he runs through the high school football lineup. So I will fully admit, don't keep up with a lot of the high school football stuff. My kid's 24 and doesn't live at home anymore. So I don't keep up with a lot of it. But from what I understand, Warren County's hosting Brentsville tonight, or on Friday night. We will actually carry that game. We do all of the high school football games on our AM Sports Radio 1450 AM. So Carl and Kip will be calling that game on Friday night. But Warren County's hosting Brentsville. Is Brentsville tough? Are they? Do you guys? Anybody know? Oh, good.
Go Cats.
Yeah, there you go. We always root for the home team. Skyline is hosting Culpeper. James Wood is traveling to Liberty. Go Colonels.
Go Colonels.
Sharando is playing Martinsburg, which Randy has literally written here in a battle of area powers. Sharando plays at Martinsburg.
Yeah, that's tough.
Tough game there for Sharando. Tough game.
Is it really?
Martinsburg's. They've state champions for how many years?
I think they've won 7 out of the last 9 years.
Yeah. Oh, see, and Randy's a Martinsburg High School grad. So I think he's actually, he mentioned something this morning that he's going to go to that game, and he hasn't been to a Martinsburg High School football game pretty much. Actually, he said he didn't think he'd been there since he graduated, and I jokingly asked him if they had lights back then.
Other helmets.
Yeah, well, that's literally, he said, oh no. He said, we had candles, we had to go down to the candlestick maker and get our candles, and we had leather helmets, and
Go Dogs.
yeah. There you go. Yeah, because I'm not really sure. That's a whole other story. Hanley is hosting Millbrook on Saturday, and you, Coach Mike, were saying that might be a tough game, too.
That could be a real good game. Hanley is much improved. Yeah, it's tough on there on the weekend. Saturday, different. It's going to be a tough game. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. And
different playing surface, too.
Sure.
Oh, is it different?
Turf.
I guess it would be, yeah.
Turf, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like
Only
Hanley.
high school
I'm not a
around
Hanley
here.
fan. Anybody who listens to me when I host the Valley Today knows I joke that if I happen to have a guest on that I find out during the show is a Hanley graduate because I'm a James Wood grad, I feel that need to turn their mics down.
Yep.
And so I've done that to several people and kind of a little bit of trouble, but I'm going to say, but I'm not a fan of Bill.
I respect Hanley only because family, and back when I played, that was the only other high school in the county.
Well, that's what I mean, and I've had those conversations back in the day. James Wood and Hanley were the only two schools. That was a true rivalry. Now you got Millbrook, you got Sharando, you got
Clarke.
Yeah. And you guys are playing at Central. Is that going to be a tough matchup?
Yeah, it's going to be tough. Central has not been scored on this year, and we're young in some spots, but we do have good skill kids. So it's we're going to get everything we have. So it's
Go Eagles.
Wings up.
Now, Strasburg, he's got Strasburg entertains George Mason. Am I missing something here, or is George Mason a college?
No.
No, they're in our district. Yeah, they're going to move up next year. This will be their last year with us, so they'll move up. So
yeah, clearly local sports is not my forte. And then RMA is hosting Hargrave, and that's actually at 4:00 on Friday. So go RMA. Sure. Love my RMA. He gave me some stuff for the college stuff. I'm not going to go through all that. I want to talk a little bit about the playoffs. as we're gonna start with the playoffs a little bit. So tonight, Colorado at Milwaukee and Atlanta at LA. So who are we taking? Colorado? Are we taking the Rockies or are we taking the Brewers?
I think it's got to be the Brewers. I mean, the Rockies, the one stat that you really have to look at is run differential, and their run differential is very small. They've given up 100 more runs than the next closest team in the playoffs right now. And I got the chance to see the Brewers play the Pirates back a couple of weeks ago, and let me tell you, that's a balanced team from top to bottom, hitting, pitching, the rotation, the bullpen. I see the Brewers sweeping that series, honestly.
And you got one of their home run balls when you
I
were
do.
at that
Still
game.
sitting in my car. Travis Shaw, his 30th home run
cool.
I caught it, so I'm just
I know,
very
and
happy
I
about
asked
that.
him because he had just gotten back from that game when you came in and was my guest on the Valley today. I said, "Did you throw it back at him?" And he's like, "No."
No, I didn't have a dog in the fight. I'm a Dodgers fan.
So what do you think, Coach Smith? Do you think it's
I think the Brewers also. I think they're tough. Lorenzo Cain. I mean, they've got some players, so I look for them. I don't know if it's going to be a sweep. Going to Colorado is not easy. The ball flies out of that ballpark, so I like the Brewers.
all right?
I like
I'm
the
going to call you
Brewers.
Tim. I'm not going to call you Honey or
That's
anything because
fine.
that would be embarrassing.
It could be for you, yes. I'm pulling for the Brewers also. I mean, Kristen Yelich is an MVP candidate. He's hit for the cycle twice this year, which is virtually unheard of. Their pitching, I think, is a little bit better out of the bullpen. And their bench. I mean, they've got guys coming off the bench to fill in platoon players that I think
They're gonna be able to-
Yeah, the Brew Crew all the way.
All right, so who do you think, Nathan? The Braves or the Dodgers?
Is that even a question? Well, let me try to be objective for a second. The Dodgers. Well, the Dodgers because, I mean, if you look at it on paper, the Dodgers, I mean, they've got the postseason experience. They've been going to the playoffs year after year after year. They were in the World Series last year, so they've got that. They know what it takes to get there. They know that playing in the playoffs is very different than the regular season. We have a lot of depth. The Dodgers top to bottom a lot of depth and some of the best starting pitchers in the league. The Braves they're young, they're exciting. I mean, Acuna is unbelievable. I mean, he's just playing on another level right now. But I think that experience is going to be their downfall. It'll be a close. I think the Braves maybe even takes the first game, kind of surprises the Dodgers at first, but then I think the Dodgers end up taking the rest of the series.
You're going to have to be the middle guy here.
No, I'm not. I got a guy to my right wearing the Dodgers, and to my left the Braves, so I'll pass.
You're going to say go Yankees.
Go Yankees.
We're going to get to them in just a second. And I'm guessing Mr. Freddie Freeman T-shirt wearing person
Yes,
here, in an Orioles hat, no less.
Well, I'm kind of hoping that the Braves lose the first game so they can come back to Atlanta and win it.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. He's got a strategy already in mind.
I think they've got a whole slew of ex-Oriole pitchers that I think are going to be a key role in winning the division.
So for the sake of radio, I'm going to ask you, even though I already know what your reaction was because I was sitting next to you when you got the news. What is your thoughts on Showalter being let go as the GM for the Orioles last night?
Well, I haven't really heard any news about it other than he was not coming back. So I don't know if it was mutual, if they told him you're gone. So if it's what Buck wanted, then I'm okay with it. I just hope they find somebody like a Mike Matheny or somebody to step in and take the team over.
Now, I like Mike Matheny. I think that would be a really good option.
Be a good fit. And the saying is, players win games, coaches lose them.
Absolutely.
So it's tough. And when you have a record like the Orioles and you have a fan base that loves baseball there, it was tough on Buck, and you could just see them. They had to make a move. They got to get more people to these games. So it was coming.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Buck Showalter, he did some great things when he was here, but eventually, I mean, the front office, unfortunately, didn't do him any favors. I mean, how many years do we have to see starting pitching be a primary issue? You cannot win in this game without good starting pitching, and we were just trotting out guys who just
Well, and Davis is getting paid the money he is and is missing baseballs by 4 feet at the plate. So
absolutely.
He struggled, and
So what do we think? Do we think Adam Jones is staying, or do we think Adam Jones is gone?
gone.
Is he going to go and play somewhere else? Is he going to retire?
I think he'll go somewhere else. He's
With
got
a chance
plenty
to
left in
win.
the tank. Yeah, exactly. I think he's got plenty
He's
left in
going to
the
go
tank.
to the Braves.
He'll probably go to the Braves. I can absolutely see him going to the Braves. most
where's
likely.
he from?
He was drafted by, I think, the Seattle Mariners, and that's where I think he'll end up going back to finish his career, is back in Seattle. He's from the West Coast.
West Coast guy?
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
he
we
is
can see
tied to
that.
Baltimore. I mean, he
I
has
know.
gone on record. He has really kind of made Baltimore his home. I wouldn't be 100% surprised. I mean, the Nats don't really need him.
No.
So, but speaking of the Nats, where do we think Harper's going to land? I mean, do we think he's going to stay with the Nats? Is he, Mike, we talked about this before we went on the air. You think he's going to be a Yankee?
It's fine with me. I mean, Brett Gardner is starting to see his playing time go down. He's getting a little older. Another Valley League guy, by the way.
Yes, he is.
But I could see that move. It just depends. Money, he could be the highest paid player
yeah.
when it comes down
Yeah.
to it. He can
And
just
the-
ask.
Well, he
tell
needs
them,
that money for his hair product.
doesn't he?
I think he's going to end up a Philly because they've got the money.
Ooh, that's a
I
good
think
one.
him and
Yeah.
Machado both are going to end up in Philadelphia.
Together?
They have the money. Philadelphia
They
has
do.
the money to sign them both. I did see that that's a possibility. I could definitely see Philadelphia. I think maybe the Cubs. I mean, he'll be reunited possibly with Daniel Murphy out there in Chicago, and Chris Bryant, as we
They're
were talking
best
before the
friends.
show, they're best friends. I think, but it'll be interesting. I think the Nationals have a chance. I think a lot of teams may be scared of the batting average that he had this year. I mean, the home runs were there, but the batting average wasn't there. That may scare some teams when pointing up the potential $400 million he is looking for.
Wow.
He's been
That's-
nicked up a little bit,
No
right?
player is
A little
A
bit,
little
yeah.
bit
He
not
has been
bad, but
no.
he's
Yeah.
No player is worth that. You'd have
No.
to sign him for 20 years to.
Well, plus look at his stats. I mean, one year he's great, an MVP candidate. The next year he's hitting 247.
Right.
It's just
And little things throw him off, like when Madden walked him
Right.
the whole series last year.
oh, his batting
he
average
went
tanked after
downhill
that.
from there, and he just didn't rebound from it.
No, he didn't.
Well, and I've never really understood you, and we've had conversations, Tim and I have had conversations at home before about these outrageous numbers. I mean, when you give these guys these contracts with this kind of money, it's almost without fail across the board. They don't perform at least the first year following signing that big contract. And I don't know if it's psychological. I don't know what it is. But Chris Davis has not performed well from an Orioles perspective,
Years ago,
given the
hit
money he
50
got.
home runs and gave him all that money, and now he can't hit the ball out of the infield.
Well, one thing I think we're starting to see a little bit now is you look at the teams that have won the World Series recently, the Cubs and the Astros. They did big teardowns and they built completely through the draft. I mean, these were
Sales, yeah.
year-long processes. And they didn't go out and sign these, $150, $200 million players. And in the offseason, you saw guys like Arrieta, who couldn't find, and Chris Davis, who were
Yeah.
looking for heavy money.
Yeah.
They had to take pay cuts because these teams are starting to say, hey, we're going to do this. We're going to follow the same model.
Yep.
Well, so let's change gears for a minute before we go to break and talk a little bit of football. So the Redskins are at New Orleans Saints Monday night. I know, Tim,
Go
you
Skins.
are a Redskins fan. How are you thinking that game's going to end?
If they play
In tears?
and I hope not. But if they play like they played Green Bay, they can win. They can beat them.
I'm still shocked that they beat Green Bay. I
know.
cannot
But,
believe
I mean, Rodgers was still hurt. They played a good game, and they're capable of doing that. If they do that against New Orleans, they can beat New Orleans.
So how about you? Yeah.
Breeze, Kamara, Dome, Saints.
All right, Nathan.
I say the Skins in an upset. I think Breeze, everybody's going to be tuning in to watch Breeze break the all-time passing mark. He's going to pass Peyton Manning. I think he needs just over 200 yards to do it. But I think that the Skins are going to hold him close. And I think that, the Saints are one of those teams that, one week, you think they're going to win by 40, and then they lose. And then the next week, you think they're going to lose, and they win. I think they go in there. I think the Skins are starting to put it together a little bit.
So going across the Beltway to Ravens, they're going to play Cleveland on Sunday. So I have my opinions about that whole game, but I'm at a loss because I have learned already this season that they only win when I don't watch them, which is torture because I want to watch them. But I turn the TV on for 5 minutes and then they start getting fumbles and sacks and everything else. So what, are you thinking that Baker Mayfield's going to hold up against Joe Flacco?
If they can contain Baker Mayfield and knock the ball down, intercept or whatever, they're going to beat Cleveland. Yeah.
I think Baker Mayfield is going to take Cleveland through the season.
He's their
I think
future.
that
and within a couple of years, they're going to be a contender, and it's going to be hard for the Ravens and the Steelers to beat them to win that division. So win it now while you can.
All right, so
Well, the Browns had a big lead last weekend. I think was it in Oakland, and let
Yeah.
that slip away from them. So being at home, they're at home, correct?
yes.
Dog pound. It could be interesting. I like to see the Browns win. I'm not saying they're going to, but it would be huge momentum for the Browns to win this game.
I agree with Coach Smith. I think it's going to be tough. One thing that a lot of people aren't really talking a lot about, that Browns defense is scary.
Yeah.
The interceptions, the sacks. I mean, you've got Myles Garrett on there just wreaking havoc on opposing
6
quarterbacks.
guys tackling.
Yeah, I mean, exactly. I
Going
mean,
to the ball.
I think the Browns can pull it out, but it'll be like a 13-10 type lead. I think Mayfield's still finding his way, but yeah, I agree with you guys. He's the
And
future.
you get tired of losing.
Yeah, you do.
Well, yeah.
These
And
kids are
Mayfield-
young. They're coming in, making their name for themselves. They're just tired of being on a losing team. It's
And
time for a
Mayfield,
change.
when he was in Oklahoma, I mean, this kid is all this swagger.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's what Cleveland needed.
Yep.
That's
Yep.
how you change the culture with somebody
Absolutely.
like
If
Mayfield.
one big star leaves that city, another one comes in, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and Tim and I, our son Josh is a diehard OU fan, has been since he was little. His grandparents live in Oklahoma, and he has been the biggest Baker Mayfield. When he found out they were going to the Browns, it was not pretty. I mean, his Twitter feed was ugly. I almost wanted to take him off of Twitter because it was pretty ugly. I think his pinned tweet still is me reacting to Baker Mayfield in a Browns uniform, and it's like a Family Guy like vomiting everywhere or something. But then he came in and turned them around,
Tyrod got
Oh,
after
hurt,
Tyrod
yeah.
got hurt,
And won the game.
That was an
Yeah.
amazing game.
That
That
was.
was an
Yeah.
amazing game.
For a
So-
Thursday night game, that was an amazing game.
Well, I tell you what, let's take a break. When we come back from a break, I want to talk with you a little bit, Coach Smith, about your history at Clarke County High School as a baseball coach. I know you've got a little bit of scouting background. You've coached for the Winchester Royals before, and you've also been involved in other Valley League baseball teams.
Yeah, we'll go over that.
Awesome, we'll do that. And I know, Nathan, at some point this evening, we're going to talk about the exhibit that's going to open at the Clarke County Historical Association. Exhibit's going to open on the history of baseball in Clarke County.
It is, yes.
And I had no idea the two of you would be related when I asked you both to come here. That's
A lot of Clarke County in the studio.
Yeah.
I can't even say that's what I'm doing. Anyway, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to talk more. Nathan Stalvey is here. He's the executive director of the Clarke County Historical Association and Dodgers fan, staring me in the face. Coach Mike Smith is here. He is the baseball coach for Clarke County High School and the 2019 manager for the Winchester Royals. My wonderful husband Tim Michael is here in his Freddie Freeman T-shirt with his Orioles hat. So we are going to talk more sports when we come back on Sports Dogs After Hours. I'm Janet Michael. Hang in there just a few minutes. Hello, it's Janet again. In addition to producing podcasts for the River 953 and our clients, I also host a show every weekday on the air from 12:30 to 1 called The Valley Today. It's a community conversation where I chat with local business owners, nonprofits, government agencies, and residents about what's happening up and down the Shenandoah Valley. You can hear the show live each day on the radio, you can listen live from our website, or you can listen to the podcast of the show each afternoon on our website at theriver953.com from the Valley Today page. You can even subscribe to the podcast in the Apple Podcast app or the Google Play Music Store and have it delivered directly to your phone once it's published. So join me for a conversation this week. And if you're interested in being a guest or advertising in that podcast, send me an email to janet@theriver953.com. And now, back to the podcast.
Now, more live local sports talk with the Sports Dogs After Hours on the River 95.3.
All right, we are back. I am your host, Janet Michael. You are listening to Sports Dogs After Hours. I am filling in tonight for Randy Woodward. We have got a studio full of sports fans. Some of them, they're getting along pretty well. I'm glad I put you in the middle, Coach, because
Thank you.
I was a little concerned when I got a Freeman on this side and a Dodgers on this side.
Chop on.
I know. Stop the joke. I can't separate you any more than
I
I
can't do the chant, so I'll chop on as quick and easy.
So the voice that you just heard is my husband, Tim Michael. He is here as a wonderful, good husband and social media guilted into doing it. So I guess I should thank my sister-in-law, Mickey, for telling him he
Thank
needed
you,
to be
Mickey.
here tonight. Coach Mike Smith is also here. He is the baseball coach for Clarke County High School. He's also the 2019 manager for the Winchester Royals. Nathan Stalvey is here. He's the executive director of the Clarke County Historical Association and Dodgers fan. I still think it's hilarious, Nathan, that you have your name tag for the Historical Association on your jersey that says Dodgers.
It just force a habit. just force a habit to slap it
The
right
matching
on.
shirt underneath.
I know,
Well,
he
that
totally
was-
coordinated.
Yeah, totally had to coordinate.
What
Yeah.
number are you?
55, Oral Hershiser.
There you go.
Bulldog.
The Bulldog.
Ah,
I like
see?
it. I like it.
So, Coach Smith, give me a little bit of background. So, let me tell you how I found out about you.
Okay.
Actually, and I didn't even do it originally. My husband saw the tweet that the Winchester Royals had tweeted that they had named you as their 2019 manager.
Okay.
Until then, I had no idea who you were.
That's okay. A lot of Mike Smiths run around.
And and my kids went to, Josh went to Sharando, so I'm not all that familiar with Clarke County. But then I read the bio that they wrote about you. You've got quite a history of baseball. I mean, you've done a lot in the sport.
Yeah. Well, it just means I'm getting older, if you see the years I've been involved in it. But I've been involved in high school baseball for 22 years, and I'm at the place where I belong at Clarke County High School. I love it there. I love coaching these kids, so I'm very fortunate to be there.
So how long have you been at Clarke County?
Well, I've had 2 stints there. I was there from 96 to 2003. Left to go coach at Shenandoah with Kevin Anderson. Made a few other stops along the way, and I've been back at Clarke. I guess this will be my 4th year
Wow.
coming back. So very grateful.
So you have done, I mean, you've coached high school kids. You just
Yes.
mentioned that you've been at Shenandoah, so you've done college level.
Yes.
Your bio said that you were an affiliate scout. Is that what
It's an associate. It's kind of like an extra set of eyes for the area scout. So, and that worked out well because I was in the Valley League, and they knew I would see a lot of kids. So that's pretty neat to go ahead and give them reports on different players, get back to him, and get lucky. Maybe some of these kids will get signed. So
Now, do you find that having coached at the college level for Shenandoah, that you have a better sense of how you can kind of shape some of these kids that are playing for you at a high school
absolutely.
level?
Absolutely. I know the speed of the game is a lot different. When I go from the high school season into the Valley League, the game just picks up. The speed is unbelievable. The talent is unbelievable. But I can take some things that I've learned from other coaches in the Valley, other players, just watching what they do at the schools they're coming from, the routines they go through. And sure, I'll put some of that into my program, and it works.
Now, do the kids have to try out every year for you, or is there?
Is this the high school or the
at high school?
Yes, they do. And we're small. We're smaller schools, so my numbers are down. We have less to pick from. But, yes, there's tryouts every year.
I remember when Josh played for Shenandoah, that was the thing. I was shocked. I just assumed that if you were on the team, then you were on the team. But I kind of understand why that isn't necessarily always the case.
And baseball at times, I mean, it can be, you got a baseball flying around, you got it coming at high speed, and just you have to get the best guys that can handle that situation on your team.
Yeah.
So how did you settle in with the Winchester Royals to be their manager in the next season?
Well, I've been in the league. This will be my 12th year, and with the Purcellville Cannons the last 2 years. And they were looking to make a change, and I was approached if I would be interested in this job. So that's kind of how it was. And being with Winchester before, knowing some of the people that are still there, how they run that organization, it was a no-brainer to me to go back there. So interviewed for it, and very fortunate to the Winchester Royals and their board members and president and everybody that they selected me.
And so give me a little bit of background. I've talked to some of the Valley League players. I've had Strasburg Express on. I'm trying to think. I had a gentleman who used to own the I know this isn't the Covington Lumberjacks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he was here a couple of weeks ago. It's a mortgage
Wow.
company now. So
Wow.
there you go.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
how things change.
Okay.
What is the process? I mean, it's really kind of cool how Valley League baseball works because these kids come from colleges
Right.
all over the country pretty much, right?
Well, it's changed from when I first started to where when you started recruiting these kids, the coaches would tell you to wait until after fall baseball, maybe even early spring for some of these kids. But now, if you're not on the phone by the end of August, 1st of September, you're going to miss out.
Really?
So it's you just research. You research programs, rankings, YouTube videos with kids working out their own, private stuff. So, and it's kind of come full circle for me. I've coached players who are now coaches, so I can reach out to them. So that's how it works. You network. You meet guys at conventions. You meet through friends, and that's how you actually get some of these players to come in. Because with so many leagues now, in the United States, it is unbelievable the kids that can go wherever they want. Basically.
Well, and you were telling me before we came into the studio, you have a 30-man roster.
Have a 30-man roster.
And you've got 24 of them pretty much.
I've got 24 contracts in, which is great because some of these kids at times will kind of push it off because they've got fall ball and other things going on. But they've been, their coaches help them. So they push them a little bit to where they're at and so get these contracts in. So right now we're at 24, and I still have some kids on the roster, but they just haven't got their contract in. So once they all get in, I'll have about 30 kids already signed, hopefully before Thanksgiving, which is rare.
And these kids are in college, and what is their eligibility?
Yeah, you have to be a freshman, sophomore, or junior. You cannot be a senior
okay.
coming back to play. And some leagues have experimented with kids that are going to be just out of high school, going to go to college
Incoming
and
freshmen.
throw them in. So we don't do that. Valley doesn't do that. So that's kind of what you're looking at. And I've got kids that are going to be JUCO players, junior college players, NAIA kids. I got a couple of Division II kids, a lot of Division I kids. So baseball is just a different animal. I mean, if you can play, it doesn't matter what level. I've been in this league long enough to see Division III kids become MVPs of our league. So it doesn't have to be all D1. If these kids can play, I'll find them. Scouts will find them. It's just...
So how hard is it when you bring these 30 kids, potentially from 25 to 30 different colleges in some cases, together and say, okay, you're a team now?
Yeah, you've got 30 different personalities, but...
And egos.
And yes, they're out there.
And sets of parents who've been telling them their whole life
Yeah,
that they're
how
the best
good they
player
are.
ever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I've been very fortunate bringing in great kids. I've had zero issues with our guys. And it's, you know, summer baseball is different because it's a short window, and these kids bond with each other like you would not believe. Mm-hmm. And that this friendship will last forever, and especially with the host families. They take these kids in like one of their own, and they'll follow them through their whole career. So it's great. If you're a family in Winchester listening right now,
Well, that was going to be my next question.
plug. If you want to be a host family, it's something you should try. It is a great memory that you'll never forget, and these kids are great kids. So,
Now, is that part of your responsibility as a coach, or you're responsible for finding the kids, getting the
Yeah.
kids here, and winning? You know,
Yeah.
teaching them and winning the games. They have the
Sure.
board.
We have a housing coordinator that'll line everybody up. Sometimes we'll try to keep teammates together. They'll fill out a sheet on different things about their personality, so we try to match that with the family. So there's a lot that goes into it. So my job is just basically recruit, coach, win.
Pretty much, I would say, in that order.
Yeah.
In exact order.
Now, do you get to bring on your own coaches? Do you have your own pitching coaches and everything else?
Yeah, that'll be my job also. So now I've got some people that have already reached out to me, and I'll narrow that down and complete my staff here shortly.
Wow. So are you excited? When does the season kick off? It's
start
June, July.
Well, it's usually the 1st of June, but now I think with the calendar, I think we start the very end of May into June.
Wow.
Yeah, it'll be here before you know it.
So I doubt that my dear friend Jimmy Wilkins is listening, but he and I have had many, many conversations about a new baseball field because Shenandoah needs one, and clearly the Royals need
and
one.
Hanley, you have so much wear and tear on that field. I know there's been efforts before to try to get it maybe turfed, maybe moved to Shenandoah. I'm not sure what's going to happen out there, but I know by the time we get on it,
it's a hot mess.
Perfect.
Yep.
That's exactly what it is.
And it's never been. I mean, that was the field
Yeah, I
that
played high school ball there back in the 80s, and, yeah, it was a mess then. I mean, it was fairly new, but if it rained a little bit on that field, it would...
Well,
It shreds
I
it
can
up
tell you
real
this,
fast.
and Park and Rec is really good there, and they're going to
Absolutely.
work with me, and I'll also take a lot of responsibility for how the field looks also, because I mean, you know, Coach Anderson and I go back, way back, and it's, you know, I don't want to disappoint him either. So that field's going to look nice, and we'll take care of it.
Yep, and Jimmy promises me there's a baseball field coming. But they got a garage to build first. They had to get the event center done. That's now done. But
that'll be exciting, though. I think
yeah.
it's time. Winchester's a good baseball town, and that would be
well, there had
great.
been talk at one point that there was the potential that the Hagerstown Suns were going to come here. They were
Yes.
looking to move out of Frederick or out of
Several years ago,
Hagerstown and
Right,
come over and
right.
have this whole big thing. But
that would have hurt us, though, if you think about it. That might have hurt the Valley. Oh yeah,
I think so.
I
agree.
think it would have.
As somebody
So
who goes to the Hagerstown Suns a lot, I would have. Yeah,
that would have,
exactly.
and the way it is now, even the Valley, they're attended. Sometimes it's great, sometimes it's down. But you put a minor league team, especially if you got a major leaguer coming to that town for a rehab start or a play,
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah.
they're going to pack that place, and it's going to be, you know,
well,
empty seats. But anyway, I'm glad they didn't come.
so Nathan, we were joking about how old Bridgeforth Field is. So
Yeah.
I'm going to use that as my segue. That's what we do here in radio. is
I
we
like segues. There you go.
So you were telling me when you were here a couple of weeks ago, and that's what made it pop into my mind when Randy asked me to host tonight. You guys are about to open an exhibit on the history of baseball in Clarke County?
Yes, this was something that I've been wanting to do really kind of once I first got to Clarke County Historical Association.
So this is one of your own things.
It
that you're
is. It
figuring out,
is.
hey.
It certainly was. Because, you know, I'm a lifelong baseball fan, and I worked at a baseball museum before coming here. And when I looked through the collections, getting more familiar with the collection, I noticed we actually had quite a number of photographs, baseball jerseys in the collection, and we had to get the museum prepared. We didn't have a temporary exhibit space. So we now have a temporary exhibit space where we can rotate out exhibits and get more of our collection out on display. Right around that time, we had somebody donate a bunch of baseball artifacts, some Little League jerseys from the 60s, Millwood, the Old Chapel Nationals. We also had an old Boyce Agricultural School high school jersey, that was donated. An autographed baseball for the 1954 Clarke County High School championship baseball team was on loan for this. It's been amazing, and so suddenly we're seeing all of this baseball material, all related to Clarke County, and we turned it into an exhibit, and added to that are some really great photographs. The main image is of this little kid. His name's Emmett Coiner, taken in 1908, and he's in this old baseball jersey and an old uniform and a really heavy bat. The bat looks like it weighs about 30 pounds. But it's a cute image. And we also went through the old Clarke Courier newspaper and found some really funny stories. And we've got a whole section of the exhibit that talks about how baseball was written about back in the night. All these stories were taking place in 1906, 1907, 1908. And it's really interesting to see how sports writers wrote about baseball then as opposed to now. It's night and day different, and they couldn't get away with some of the stuff they say back then as they can now. So it's
Well, I've got a few things you might want to put in that museum, honestly. I've got some old catcher's gear that is very old and a mitt. So that might be something you can look at if you're interested.
Oh,
It's
absolutely.
in my basement, so if you want to
I have a place
display,
exactly for it.
and I can get you 2018 Bull Run Championship baseball if you like it.
I like it. Yes. There you go.
This is what I do. I bring people together. So, and that's kind of what you're hoping for, too, if somebody's listening even.
Right.
And
if
they
you-
have something.
Exactly. If you've got any baseball-related artifacts, especially ties to Clarke County, please reach out to the Clarke County Historical Association. We'd love to see it and love to add it into our collection. I mean, it's really something spectacular, this exhibit.
So where can somebody come to see it? Is it?
It is at our main museum, which
Okay.
is downtown Berryville. It's at 32 East Main Street. It's right across the street from Rose Hill Park. And it's open from Tuesday through Friday, 11 to 4. And it's free. So you come in, and it doesn't cost a thing to come just check out the exhibit.
But you're probably not going to be there in your Dodgers shirt then.
Not every day.
After they win.
After they win, when they win the World Series.
He's going to have to put the shirt away then. 'Cause that's-
Oh.
Have to put it on inside out and wear it backwards and all of that kind of
Tomahawk
stuff.
on it.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness.
Now, you are a lifelong, I joked, a second ago about, this was one of those things, it was kind of like your passion project. But you are a lifelong, you mentioned it earlier, a Dodgers fan, but you have a bucket list.
I do. My number one on my bucket list is to visit every major league stadium. And when I went to go see the Pirates a couple of weeks ago, on my birthday no less, that was stadium number 15. And so I'm halfway there.
That's great.
Yeah. I'm really happy about that. I'm halfway there. There's a few I was really happy when I moved here a few years ago because there were a number of stadiums I had not crossed off the list yet. I hadn't been to Baltimore. I hadn't been to Philadelphia. I hadn't been to Pittsburgh. And now all those are crossed off.
The ones that are relatively local.
Exactly. And
that
I'd
you
already
can go
crossed
to.
the Nationals off. So that was so.
When you were in Pittsburgh, did you get a chance to go see the old Forbes Field, the wall that's still up?
No, I wanted to, but
gotta do that.
it thundered and lightning for quite a while.
I'll tell you something else. If you walk, because the university's right there. But
Right.
if you walk into their, I think it's their student center. Did you go in there?
No.
They actually have the home plate still under glass
Wow.
from the field, so you can walk into their student center and look down, and there it is.
That is amazing. That actually reminds me when I went to see the White Sox.
Seen that too in the parking lot.
In the parking lot,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
The
I saw
old,
that.
say I'm standing at the home plate where Babe Ruth hit the 1936 home run in the first All-Star game. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my
I think
goodness.
they've actually painted lines down through there.
They have.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
they have.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
cool.
That is so cool. Yeah, and I've not been to any of those places. I've seen an Orioles game. I've seen a Nats game, and is that that's the only
Road
game?
trip.
Yep.
There you
Yeah.
go, road trip. I've still
Yeah.
got some more stadiums to cross off, so,
So what's the furthest away stadium that you've done?
Los Angeles.
Oh, so
Yes.
they're shocker.
Yeah, so I've been to Dodger Stadium. Yeah, that was good. I actually met Kenley Jansen and Tommy Lasorda on that day. That
What?
was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable.
You'll like this. I guess my first stint with Clarke County, I took our baseball team down to spring training.
Yeah.
And we went to Vero Beach.
Oh.
And we were able to see Maury, those guys doing bunting drills.
Right.
And we actually saw Tommy Lasorda riding around in his golf cart. And we stayed for that game, and we saw him play the Orioles in that game.
Oh,
so that was a
wow.
great opportunity for our kids.
Was he chowing down a big old bowl of pasta while I was there?
No,
Seems
but
to be his
I'm not
thing.
saying he wasn't exactly friendly either. I mean, he
No.
yeah. So our kids are waving, whatever. He acted, whatever. But
Yeah.
but it was a good experience for those kids to get that close to a spring training game, see the Dodgers, and that's back. They were good.
Yeah.
Dodgers were good, man. They had good players.
Yeah.
I liked Don Mattingly when he was the coach. Ah, look at this. I got me a high five.
I
Like me some Don Mattingly.
Yes.
I like Donnie baseball when he was with the Yankees, I'll admit, but as a manager, he could not manage a bullpen to save his life. I'm not going to lie. He was terrible at managing pitchers.
It doesn't matter.
But it's Donnie baseball, so I'll give
Yeah,
him
it's
that.
Donnie baseball.
Yeah.
He looked good standing there in the dugout. There was always that. I have his rookie card.
Good for you.
I
on to that.
I don't know where it
Yeah.
is. I need to. I'm a little concerned now that I say that out loud. I have his rookie
sold
card.
Yeah.
Either
It's on eBay.
He traded it for a Chipper Jones rookie card.
yeah, that's probably what happened. Either that or the kid hit it or took it with him when he moved out just because he wanted to be able to hang it over my head at some point.
Probably.
I probably should have hocked it to pay for his college, but
Yeah.
that lot of good that did me.
Yep.
But yeah, I've always been a Don Mattingly fan. I just think he was fantastic. So for a little while there,
Yeah.
technically, I was a Dodgers
He
fan.
was one season away from winning the ring.
Yeah.
You got to feel for the guy,
Always.
man.
Oh, I've
Yeah.
had to feel for him. He's one of the greatest
Man,
Yankees to
man.
never win. He's like, wow, 27 world championships, and I didn't get to be on any of them.
And then a lot of kids were starting to be named Mattingly. A lot of
Yeah?
guys.
Yes.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of kids, a lot of boys.
So I am watching these clocks tick down, and I'm thinking that I missed a break. So because now it's saying that I have about 2 minutes before I go to a break. So I'm hoping Lonnie is listening, because if he is, he's going to send me a text and tell me to know that it's really okay. But it doesn't matter. So we're just going to keep talking baseball.
Yeah.
Works for me.
So Mike, when you first got started at coaching, where did you start? Where was your first job ever coaching?
Well, I actually started in the Jefferson County Youth League.
Really?
Just starting off by coaching. I think they were 13 and 14-year-olds, and just kind of got into it that way. And from there, I contacted Charlie Lutman, who was the athletic director at the time at Clarke County High School, and he brought me on. I was Chris Parker's assistant and stayed with Chris, and then got the head coaching job. And so that's kind of where it all started, right at Clarke County.
So I want to know what's the hardest thing about coaching high school baseball? Because I think I know what the hardest thing would be, but I'm curious to see. You're probably not going to be able to say it, even if it is true. I'm thinking it's the parents.
It can be, and I'll tell you, the way things have changed. We have social media now where people will go out and express their opinions on that, and it's just changed. I really don't have any problem with these kids now. It has changed. You have to adapt as a coach to the kids at this age, because it has changed.
Yeah.
And you have to watch what you say and what you do, and but it's still fun. I mean, you're still teaching the game, and when you're having success, it's great. But I enjoy it so much, I don't really have a downfall as far as any problems.
Now, do you also teach at Clarke County, or do you just
No.
get to be the baseball coach?
I actually work there. I am the safety, security, truancy, discipline guy.
Oh, you're that guy.
I'm that guy.
You go find the kids who aren't at school.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
With the kids or the parents.
Yeah, I'm making fun. Yeah, if they're coming to my office,
It's not a good thing.
yeah.
It's not.
But it's great. It's a great school, great admin, great staff. It's great. It's a good school.
And and Tim and I talk about this all the time. I mean, Josh graduated from Sharando in 2012, and then went off to college. And even because Tim played baseball, gosh, since you were
84,
as tall
85,
as a
and
bat,
86,
practically though.
That James Wood is.
And your grandfather.
Daddy Mike, my grandfather, played minor league baseball in the St. Louis Cardinals organization. I want to say in the early to mid 30s. He got drafted by the Cardinals and played in Norman, Oklahoma for their farm league team.
Well, that's exciting.
That is-
Eventually
That's great.
blew out his elbow or his shoulder. I'm not sure. He was a good left-handed pitcher. He really had a lot of potential. And, of course, back then when you got injured, they didn't have Tommy John surgery or anything like that to make it better. So he came home and taught us how to play baseball.
You were talking about Forbes Field earlier. I had an uncle that actually played in the Pirates organization for a while, got hurt, then became a major league umpire in National
Oh, wow.
League and was able to do 2 World Series. So
Wow.
that's why, when I was younger, didn't like umpire. I mean, you get that thing with the umpires.
Oh,
right,
But
yeah.
now it's a tough job, and I know where they're coming from. So I just kind of...
Yeah, it is. I mean, and as a parent, it was hard. Josh's dad was an umpire. And I always had a huge issue with him because he would sometimes umpire the games that Josh played. He played in Little League and things like that. So he played actually over here in Front Royal for a while. We lived in Middletown, but Josh played for Front Royal Little League over here. And his dad would umpire. And he would be the umpire in the field. Sometimes he would be behind the plate. Josh was a pitcher. He was a left-handed pitcher. And it always annoyed me that I didn't think it was right that his dad, and had been divorced for years, but I didn't think it was right that his dad was an umpire on the field. And I remember we came over to
A little biased right
I know,
there.
right?
Yeah.
And I'm
But
feeling
he
bad for the
wasn't.
other
He was
parents.
tougher on Josh than any other player.
Yeah, he really was. I mean, and we came over here for a game, and I think it was the first time that Tim, I always on the air call him Pap. Tim's dad came over, and we're sitting in the bleachers, and Josh is out there on the mound, and he's pitching, and LJ's out in, he's a field umpire. He's in the field for that one, and then he made some call that I thought was horrible. And then I just let loose. And I'm the parent from the top of the bleachers screaming, get a pair of glasses. Didn't you see that wasn't what it was? And he yells back at me because he's my ex-husband.
Yeah.
And Tim's dad turns and looks at me and he says, Janet, you can't talk to those umpires like that. They're going to kick you out of here. I said, I can talk to that one like that because I was very damn. He didn't even realize. But you're right. I mean, you could not pay me enough to have to deal with some of that stuff.
Yeah,
I mean,
when you got to leave a game quickly out of a gate and run to your car sometimes, that's not good.
Yeah.
It's sad.
And it's no easier for even the football referees. I mean, they've got it something because those guys are even bigger. I mean, they're not walking around with baseball bats, but I mean, they're still pretty tough.
It's a tough job.
I couldn't imagine. And it's tough, too, I would imagine, as a coach, because you've got to walk that fine line between making sure that your players respect each other, respect the other team, respect the umpires, and not crossing that line between what their parents should have been teaching them about respect.
Right. You don't want to be that.
Didn't.
Right. You don't want to be that coach where the umpires come in and go, "Okay, we got his game today."
Yeah.
Yeah.
You don't want to be that guy.
Yeah.
But if you're respectful to them and you listen to what they have to say and going about your way, it's probably going to work out for you. At some point in that game, you're going to get some. You're going to
some
get
marginal
something.
call. You get the benefit.
You're
of the
going to
doubt.
get. But if you're just not a good person and they know that. It gets around.
Then you're kind of stuck in that kind of thing. So has there been who's been the toughest team? In last season, who was the toughest team that you guys went up against at Clarke County?
Well, it had to be Central. Well, I mean, we did lose to Warren County, but I mean, as far as our district is concerned, Central had gotten us twice during the regular season, and they were close games. The second we had basically won, and it just didn't go our way. Baseball.
Yeah.
So, but we beat them in the tournament, when it counted on their field. So I would say, and they were loaded. They were very good. They have a guy now that's pitching, I think, at Roanoke College. So they had some pretty good players on that team, and we were young. We were full of sophomores. So I'm really looking forward to this season. We've got basically only lost one guy. And that was Caden Warren, who is now playing at Lynchburg College, who was first team All-State catcher.
Yeah. Wow.
So we plugged that hole, and I think we'll be okay. It's going to be a tough one to fill, but I think going into the next season, there's a lot of high expectations from a lot of people. So
now, how much control do you have? Because you're the varsity baseball coach.
Yes.
And then there's the JV baseball
Correct.
coach. Do the two of you kind of go back and forth and swap players here and there?
No, it's not like. Only thing we'll do at the end of the year would be if there's a player down there that we know is going to be on the varsity maybe the next year, maybe bring him up, let him practice with us a couple times, see what it's going to be like, get a feel for it. Yep. That's the only thing. But no, we don't go back and forth. But it's not like you didn't perform well, so we're putting you back down to JV team. Right. So, it's just, and like I said, we do have a small school, small number, both on both the JV and the varsity. So that's kind of how that works.
Awesome. Well, I tell you what, I think, because Lonnie just texted me, I think I can take a break. We're going to find out in about 30 seconds. Because if nothing happens when I hit this button, then we're all going to come back and keep talking. But I'm pretty sure that I understand how this all works now. I should do it more often. People that are listening should text Direct and Connect. You can actually text the radio station and send our landline a text at 635-4121, and we get it on the computer and have the app on my phone. So you can interact with us. So if somebody's got a question, well, I don't want to open that again. No. If somebody wants to talk about the Dodgers or the Braves, we can,
Rockies fan will text in, something like that.
If I did this show more often, then I would be more familiar with the setup and how we go to break and everything else. So if somebody thinks that's a good idea, they can send a text and really annoy the living crap out of Randy. Not that I would ever do that, but we're going to try and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more. Nathan Stalvey is here. He's the executive director of the Clarke County Historical Association. Coach Mike Smith is here. He's the baseball coach for Clarke County High School and the 2019 manager for Winchester Royals. And my wonderful husband is here in his Freddie Freeman shirt and his Orioles hat. And the game hasn't started yet, has it?
8 o'clock.
Okay, so we still have it. We still have a few more minutes. So we're going to take a break and come right back to more Sports Dogs After Hours.
There's always more to the story. At the River 95.3, that's what our new podcast, Another Look, offers. A deeper look into the news stories you hear about every week. I'm Dylan Nichols, news director at the River 95.3. Join Janet Michael from the Valley Today and I as we review news from our area, as well as some odd news stories from around the country. You can find Another Look on the river953.com and listen to our take on the news whenever, wherever. Another Look offering you a weekend review with a twist. You can find a new one every Friday in the Apple Podcast app, in the Google Play Music app, or online at theriver953.com.
Now, more live local sports talk with the Sports Dogs After Hours on the River 95.3.
All right, we are back to more Sports Dogs After Hours. I am your fill-in host, Janet Michael, sitting in for Randy Woodward tonight. We have been having a blast. I'm very excited. During the break, I was a little stressed and nervous, and y'all seem to be having a good time. So I'm
Baseball.
Yeah,
Baseball.
well, that's
Right,
true.
yeah.
You can't go wrong talking about baseball. So Nathan is here. He is the executive director of the Clarke County Historical Association. We talked a little bit about the really cool exhibit that you guys have at the Museum of History of Clarke County. So if somebody has something baseball, historical, related, get in touch with you because you would love to put it in your exhibit and have it on display.
Absolutely. And one other thing I do want to mention is that for between now and November 15th, we have a special bat on display. It's a pink bat that we got made from the Louisville Slugger Museum, and it's this is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and so this is done to raise breast cancer, raise attention to breast cancer. And we're actually going to auction it off.
Oh.
So it's a silent auction. So we've, anybody who wants to come by and take a look at it and would like to make a bid on it, all the proceeds from the auction of the bat will go towards the Susan G. Komen organization for breast cancer.
Wonderful.
That is
It's great.
awesome.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
That is so cool. So we've also got Coach Mike here. He's the baseball coach for Clarke County High School and the 2019 manager of the Winchester Royals, and tried as much as I did this evening to get him to say something that,
Not going to happen.
No, I got to give you props, man. You know where that line is.
A
And
consummate professional.
Yeah,
Right
and
Been
thankfully-
around.
Yeah. Your 22 years of experience is coming through in your radio interview.
Yeah.
So right before we came back from the next break, I said, okay, so guys, what do you all want to talk about next? And Tim had a great idea, favorite all-time player. So I'm going to let you, Tim, go first. And who is your favorite all-time baseball player?
Pete Rose, Charlie Hustle.
Oh, I forgot that's who
I
it
learned how to
was.
play the game by watching him. And how many hits does he have?
It doesn't matter. He's a cheater.
No, he didn't cheat playing the game. Don't go there.
Yeah, this is
But
quite an
Pete-
argument that we have in our house a lot when he
Yeah,
talks about Pete
But
Rose.
Pete Rose is, to me, the greatest to ever play the game.
Well, and skill-wise, I have always given you that, but there are other things that are as important as how you is how you play
Yeah.
the game is
Right.
Yeah.
your everything else. But I know we argue about
I
Pete
know we
Rose
do.
all the time.
And you're always wrong.
All right, you know what? Now we're glad that look, Coach Smith is looking at him like,
Hey,
dude.
I've got a great picture at
dude.
home. I've got a great picture of my uncle when he was field umpire. Him and Pete Rose are about this far apart, nose to nose.
Yeah.
Wow.
Great picture. And he was also got a nice picture when he was behind the plate in the Cardinals. I think it was game 6 when the home run hit by the old announcer for Fox.
Jack Book?
No, he was the catcher for the Cardinals, and then he went into the booth.
Kennedy.
No,
Nope.
Rob, no.
Ott,
McGarver.
Tim McGarver.
Tim McGarver.
McGarver.
That's it. That's it.
So
Tim McGarver.
I've got
Yeah.
that picture, which is pretty cool.
that's
so yeah.
So
Anyway.
who is your all-time?
This
Yeah,
is
and
good.
thanks
This
because
is-
you got him out of some deep
Yeah,
hot water
deflection.
there. Yeah, that's another sign of a good coach.
Right. So this is going to be one that most people in the audience are like, who is he talking about? Bobby Mercer.
Oh, yeah.
I was a big Bobby Mercer fan as a kid. Loved him, and then it kind of shifted a little bit to Craig Nettles, which you can tell who I like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But really like those two guys. So those were probably my favorite players as a kid growing up.
Mine definitely is his number's on the back of my Dodgers jersey, number 55, Orel Hershiser. I liked him. I've always liked pitching way more than hitting. I've always found it's just you have to have some extreme talent to get that ball exactly where it's supposed to go. And whether you're throwing a curveball, a knuckleball, a splitter, anything, I think it's one of the toughest positions to play in all of sports because you just have to be a perfectionist. And Orel Hershiser, I mean, when I was really getting into baseball, it was around the time 1988, won World Series. He was he was doing things that pitchers don't do anymore. He was, all these shutouts, the 59 2/3 scoreless inning streak. To me, that was pitching.
Didn't
And
he
so-
take the ball back on short rest one night when they needed
He
another
did.
bullpen or
Yeah,
something?
he came out of the bullpen,
Bullpen,
and he said,
yeah.
"Oh, this could lose it," but then he carried
was
it
good.
through.
Yeah.
He was
Oh, yeah.
definitely my favorite.
He's enjoyable to watch.
Max Scherzer reminds me a lot of him.
He does, yeah. And
he's the one that wants to go the full 9 innings
Yes.
and doesn't want to give it up, and a bulldog.
There's
Yes,
nothing wrong
yes.
with showing a little bit of emotion on the mound. either.
Absolutely.
I appreciate
If
that.
a guy
I really
can hit
do.
one 450 feet and flip the bat and
Or
pop
walk
a
there
chain,
and watch it.
Or
Yeah.
walk like the Cubs did the other
Right.
night and flip the bat. You know,
right?
that
Why
to
can't
me,
a pitcher after a punch out kind of show a
Absolutely.
little
Walk
emotion?
around the
I
mound
love that.
and-
That gets me
Yeah.
fired up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it does.
Well, and Scherzer always does that. I mean, he's on the mound and he's talking
Why
to
not?
himself, and and there was somebody else. Who is the
Bird
pitcher?
Fidrich. Bird.
Mark Fidrich.
Mark
yeah,
Fidrich, the bird.
For
Yeah.
Detroit
Yeah.
back
Yeah.
in the day. Yeah,
Yep.
he talked to the ball and he would talk to the
Mound
whatever
and fix the
yeah.
dirt.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it's funny because you watch these guys do this on TV basically, and then we have kids. And I remember, when Josh was little, and then when he would start playing, I would see him out there on the mound, and I'd be like, "What is he doing?" And then
was
he'd come
being
in,
Andy
and I'd walk
Pettit.
over to the I'd walk over to the dugout. And I'm like, "What was all of that?" And he's like, "Oh man, this is what." Yeah.
He was being Andy
Well,
Pettit.
that's one
Yeah.
thing you
Yeah.
can tell in summer baseball when you get these guys together. Immediately, you know who the pitchers are. I mean, those guys are
Oh,
different.
absolutely.
Oh,
They
they're
spend
wired
2
so
hours together in
differently.
the bullpen. It's unbelievable
Yep.
the things they do down there. I don't mention, but it's
Oh yeah.
those guys are a different breed.
Yep, absolutely.
And you have to have a chip on your shoulder when you're a pitcher like that. You
Oh, yeah.
absolutely have to be better
Yes.
than the hitter.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Otherwise,
Well,
you got to have some
you-
level of confidence.
You got to show them that though. You got to let them know I'm better than you.
Now, I know you played in school. What position did you play?
I played everywhere. I was a starting third
That's
baseman.
called a utility player.
Yes.
I know.
But
a
yeah,
little bit.
I filled in, but I was usually the starting third baseman at James Wood in 83 and 84, 85.
What happened in 1985?
85, we were state runner-up in Commonwealth District. Back then, it was a lot bigger than what the districts are now. And I don't even know if they're districts or regions or whatever they are now. But
Well, yeah, and that
What-
changes. How does that all kind of play out, Coach? About what districts you're in? Is it based on population?
Yes, it is.
students?
It is.
It
It's a
is.
population.
Yep.
That's why Central will move up next year just due to the student population and that. So that's small schools that move up like that. The following, the next year,
Right.
it's tough. I
Yeah.
mean, because you're going in there like Central being in with I think Kettle Run, maybe I don't know if they'll play Sharando or not, but they're going to split this big district up into two different.
right.
I don't know. But it is it's student population. That's why at Clarke our numbers really fluctuate. I mean, we'll be at 700 sometimes. We'll be back down to 600. So
Yeah.
I don't see us making a move anytime
Right.
soon. We're just
And
going to be.
that's the way it was back when I went to school because James Wood was on the lower end of the population of having to play these bigger schools in Prince William County and in Stafford
I remember
County.
those.
and
I remember James Wood went up
It
there to
was
play.
tough.
It was tough. So it was a
Yeah.
blessing you got. And they came back into.
we had a team. Everybody was a team.
Yeah.
And there wasn't one individual player because I mean, in reality, our best player, from what the coaches said, got hurt that year, and we played and won districts and regionals without him.
Yeah. I know Sharando's had a tough time here in some of the meetings with their population, and
Yeah.
and I know they're grateful that they're able to stay where they are because I think they were trying to get pushed up into.
Yeah.
And then you got to look at this. You got to look at money. You got to look at buses.
Oh, absolutely.
And travel and kids getting home at midnight, 1 in the morning. So
Yep.
Yeah.
it-
The bigger the
it's-
school, the
it's-
further you travel.
and that's
That's
pretty
right,
much
yeah.
that's pretty
Yeah.
much what it
Yeah.
is. So
Yeah.
our district, we're kind of all close with George Mason leaving, which is in Fairfax or Falls Church. With them going, I guess our biggest travel wise will be probably Madison County, which is kind of street they're in our. and
Yeah.
then- but we get back Luray, we get back Stonewall, we get back Page County. That's what the Bull Run was when
Oh,
I
yeah.
first started.
Yeah.
Then it kind of split and did different schools came in,
Right.
left, and it's all population wise on how they decide who goes where. So
Well, and it felt like we drove to the ends of the earth when Josh was playing at Sharando. It felt like, there were some of these games. I think his first game that he ever played was Spotswood.
Yeah.
So, you guys can't hear that.
No.
There's music playing in my ear. That means we are wrapping up. So we are almost done. Thank you guys. We have been talking with Nathan, Coach Mike Smith, and my husband Tim. You guys have really helped me get through this whole hour ordeal.
I enjoyed it. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thank
Yeah,
you.
me
I
too.
really
It
enjoyed
was
it.
great. I
Yep.
enjoyed it.
So get to the museum, see the
Absolutely.
baseball history.
Stay loyal. Wings up.
Yes, go
Yep.
see the Winchester Royals,
Chop
and
on.
you and I are going to
Pray
finish
for
that
the O's.
Pete Rose conversation. Yeah, we're gonna.
You didn't tell us your favorite all-time player.
Joe DiMaggio, because he's Mr. Coffee,
Yeah.
and he was a Yankee.
I like that.
Yeah, but current time, Ryan Zimmerman. I think he is the epitome of baseball. I think he
Recognized by
is
the
it.
Associated
So-
Press as the best
Can't go
sports
wrong there.
feature of the
No,
Virginias.
that's a good pick.
I'm
This
still a Nick
has been
Markakis
Sports
fan.
Dogs After Hours on the River 95.3 WZRV. Front Royal, Winchester.